15, 14 through 15. It goes on to read, speaking of Samson, it says, when he came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting against him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the ropes that were on his arms became like flax and that is burned with fire. His bonds broke loose from his hands. Verse 15. He found a fresh jawbone of a donkey, reached out his hand and took it, and killed 1,000 men with it. You have him here, bound, taken by the enemy. Presence of God falls on him, breaks free from his bonds. And the first thing he does is he goes out and he gets a fresh jawbone of a dead donkey. It's awesome to read stuff like that in the Bible. It's exciting. But look, he picked something up. Number one, he was a Nazirite. His hair had never been cut, and his power wasn't from his hair. It was because of that presence of God that was upon his life. And one of the things was he wasn't supposed to touch anything unclean or anything dead. And here he is. He violated that law by picking up this fresh jawbone of a donkey. And I say all that to say that whatever it is that you may be embroiled in, whatever it is that you may be battling, whatever fight it is that you may be involved in, it's going to take you to do something perhaps that you've never done before to win and to put down the enemy that's in front of you. You may have to get creative about how you do it. Maybe you face this thing one way over and over and over again and you know the result. And look, the definition of insanity is to do the same things over and over and over again and expect a different result. You may have to do something you've never done before. Maybe it's weight. I mean, I'll use my wife as an example. She had lost, over 100 pounds now within the last about year and a half she's been working on it. Now, she had worked on that for many, many years, trying different things, trying the same things over and over and over again until she did something different. And then she broke through that barrier. In order for you to break through, sometimes you're going to have to try something you've never done before. And the thing about this fresh jawbone, I was looking in the Spirit-Filled Study Bible that Jack Hayford edited. And they make reference about this jawbone, saying that it was strong and it wouldn't be dry and brittle. Versus something that Samson perhaps could have just picked up off the road that anybody else could have picked up. And if he would have went to war with that, perhaps the scripture wouldn't have read the same. But he picked something up that was strong, that was new, and even would have cost him a little criticism for doing it. Look, there's plenty of people out there that won't jump in line to support some of the decisions that you make when it comes to you gaining victory in your life. Maybe because they like living in the old way of doing things, or that's the way that they are. But you know what? It is what it is. Not everybody's going to go forward with us in God. Some people you're going to leave behind. Some people are going to fall out. That's okay. It happens. Some of it's going to be hurtful because they're family. Some of it's going to be hurtful because you thought that they'd be there the whole time, and you know what? They're not there anymore. But you're going to find it's far richer to gain God and gain all it is that He has for you at that price than for you to stay where you are, get what you've always had, be what you've always been, when God is causing us and calling us to do something bigger, to be something better, to be something that He envisions for us, versus us just living after the same old, day in and day out. You got to be willing to do something different.
Amen.
I'm the first one to get in line when it comes to that. I somehow think that every night I'm going to come home and, my kids are going to be lined up in a little line and they'll say, "Hi, Daddy," and everybody's going to get hugs and kisses. We're going to go, we're going to sit down, we're going to have dinner. Nobody's going to throw food on the floor, and it is what it is. just lovingly go and take their baths, and no one's going to hit anybody with any toys and all that. And then they're going to go to bed like the dutiful little angels that they are. And then I'm going to spend a moment with my wife, and we'll exchange something very good. And then I'm going to go spend 5 hours praying in tongues and pounding heaven's door until the glory falls. And in reality, what happens is they come home, they're going to do what they're going to do. Somebody's going to throw something at somebody else. Somebody's going to cry for no reason. And then I'm going to sit down and watch TV, and there goes my night. That's how it happens. But you know what? That's pretty predictable. I mean, you go through that. But if perhaps I would change the way that I approach certain things, maybe my devotion time would be better. Look, we all go through it. Don't let the enemy find you to be predictable. How about that?
Yeah.
Don't be predictable to the devil. You know, he watches what you do. He knows you better than you know yourself, I think, in some instances. Scary thing is that if we knew what he knew about us because of this, we'd be dangerous to him. He wouldn't know what to do with himself. Something to think about. Okay. If you would, go to 2 Thessalonians. I'll be reading this to you from the Message. Actually, I have two verses there from the Message, just because I like the way it's worded. I'm allowed to do that. So it goes on to read. It says, "So friends, take a firm stand, feet on the ground." In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 15, coming from the Message. It says, "So friends, take a firm stand, feet on the ground and head high. Keep a tight grip on what you were taught, whether in personal conversation or by letter. May Jesus himself and God our Father, who reached out in love and surprised you with gifts of unending help and confidence, put a fresh heart in you, invigorate your work, enliven your speech." It's talking about living a life of purpose and passion that's fresh for God. I mean, you look about the invigoration language there. To enliven our speech, to put a fresh heart in you. God doesn't want this thing with him to become old hat. Something you can take or leave, something that's predictable, something that it's always been the way that it's been. And you'll know that if you've ever been in a relationship or if you've ever been married. It takes you to do some things differently in order to keep things fresh. You know, in my garage I have a refrigerator. And, whenever we have band practice there, our singer Mike, goes in there sometimes, and just for fun, he'll look at some of the dates of some of the things that are in there. And it's a bit of an experiment for us, because we wonder at what point some of these things go radioactive. How long that they've been in there. You know, and I'm not going to say anything because it's kind of gross. But we had some stuff that had been in there that had begun to stink, and it was just bad. And usually I try to keep it stocked while we're playing, rehearsing in there. And, you want to have something cool to drink. But you may have to battle a smell when you decide to go for it because of something that should have been thrown out a long time ago. There's just no maintenance going on there. So Heather needs to get out there more often. Cleanse and purge the refrigerator. I think she somehow sees it because it's outside technically. It's not attached to the house. It's not her responsibility. So she's in service today to know what needs to be done. But a lot of people allow their relationships. I'm not retracting. Just because